Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, Amber Living with Dystrophy. Today I will be doing my Draw My Life video. It has honestly took me forever to do this video, and I nearly went crazy trying to remember and draw everything from my life, but I finally finished it. So let's get started. I was born February 1st in the United States in a small city near Riverside in California. My mother was a beautiful African American woman, and my father was a handsome Danish man. They gave birth to my sister first, and then 17 months later, they gave birth to me. At first, we lived a beautiful fairy tale life, full of adventure, friendship, and fantasy. My parents put my sister and I in many different classes, such as gymnastics, ballet, tap, and jazz. We did some modeling, and she taught us so many of her yummy recipes. And the best part was, my sister and I's best friend was our next door neighbor. Our houses were so close that we could talk to each other all day from our windows. We used to do everything together. My dad was working in real estate, and he had lost his job. He quickly found another one, but it was in a completely different area than where we were. We had to move fast, and we did, and I totally lost contact with my dear best friend. Our new house was beautiful, and it couldn't have been any more perfect. Our family started to do what it usually did. We went on vacations, my mother started putting my sister and I in many different classes, and we started to learn how to ski, which was really fun, and we did it every weekend. But this is where my story starts to take a dark twist. While my home life was doing good for now, my school life was really bad. I had a teacher that didn't like me and another student because we were mixed with African American race. She used to make us pull our behavior cards all the time. She put us in a class for learning called RSP, and she made us sit in front of the classroom, and we were never able to change seats. Our parents went to the principal, and the teacher was immediately fired, but that didn't stop the bad things from happening to me at school. I was a new student in a school where everybody had friends. There was a fort where the kids used to play all day, and when I went up there to try to play along with them, they didn't really like that. They looked at me, and they gave me mean faces, and they immediately left me up there alone by myself. I stayed up there alone for days and days, with no one wanting to play with me, until one day, someone finally came up. It was two fourth-grade boys. I was in the second grade, and I was surprised to see them come up and talk to me. We became best friends really quick, and we were friends until they graduated. I was alone for a little bit, until a new student came. Her name was Cecilia, and she was my new best friend. We absolutely did everything together. And in the 5th grade, she became my first girlfriend, and the one that would help me the most through my first life-changing event. Little did me and my sister know that our happy home was holding some major dark secrets. Our parents started to fight all the time, and soon me and my sister had to walk home from school because no one was around to pick us up. When we tried to figure out why, our parents didn't give us any answers. They just continued to fight. I hated to hear them fight. It was the worst thing ever. And my mother started to spend more time away from the house. That took a major toll on my father, and he became an alcoholic and started taking out his anger on my sister and I. It became very scary for us at the house, but one day my father came in and told us he was leaving my mother. He said he was going to go get an apartment and that he would be back to figure out what days we could come and see him. My parents' divorce was so ugly. We were constantly in and out of courtrooms and talking to family counselors. This took a really big toll on my sister and I, and it completely split our family apart. While my father was very financially stable, my mother wasn't, and during this time of my life, that taught us many humbling lessons. Because of my mother's financial problems, sometimes the electricity and the cable would get turned off. But me and my sister had really big imaginations, and we'd play really fun games. And in the end, my mom would always figure out how to get things turned back on. My middle school life wasn't any easier Because of the drama between my family and having to go back and forth between my mom and dad's house, things were hard for me during that time, and my relationship with Cecilia went back to just being a simple friendship. And during this time, I was picked on extremely bad, so bad that I wanted to quit school. But one day, walking through my cafeteria, another girl came up to me because she liked my binder because it had Sailor Moon on it. She had Sailor Moon on her binder, and we instantly started talking. Her name was Joyce. She became my best friend, and after that, we started talking about everything. Her life was very similar to mine. She was even getting picked on by the same students as me. But she taught me to not care about what they say, to live life happily, and to do what you want to do. Don't look back and don't regret anything. And to this day, I still thank her for teaching me that. In high school, my sister and I told our parents that we wanted to stay at separate houses. My sister stayed with my mom, who she had a better relationship with, and I stayed with my dad, who I had a better relationship with. Even though he was still struggling with his alcoholism and his temper, he was still a really good dad. In high school, we didn't have to wear uniforms anymore, so I wanted to change the way I look. I started to wear makeup and change my clothing, and the kids that used to pick on me started to come up and talk to me and say that I looked beautiful. But that didn't mean that I wanted to be their friends. I was already in a great group of friends. We were mixed of all different races, religions, shapes, and sizes. We didn't care how beautiful you were. You could be our friend no matter what. And that's what truly matters about friendship. Or at least that's what I thought, until the day I came out to my friends about my sexuality. They weren't really accepting about it, and one by one they started leaving my side. I was one of 3 kids that were out about their sexuality at my school, and that was a really big deal. I started getting picked on and having problems with different teachers and students, and because of that I started ditching. I went into independent studies because I had really bad grades. I pulled myself together and I graduated early. Life started to get rough after the death of my grandfather, who I will represent here as this hawk. It was too hard for me to draw both my grandma and grandpa, so I drew them as the animals that I think represent them. My grandmother will be this beautiful butterfly. She always loved butterflies. My grandparents were very important to me and my sister. We were over there a lot during my parents' divorce. They were like our second parents. So when my grandfather passed away, it was really traumatic on me and my sister. We had always spent the most time with my grandparents on my mother's side, so after my grandfather's passing, the family felt a little bit more emptier that day. My grandfather was a very strong man, and he was the one that gave me my strength when I'm faced with any fears. He was recognized to be a very noble man for his services in World War II and the Korean War as a Tuskegee Airman fighter. And he also was the first African American principal of Long Beach, California. After that, my father and I ended up moving to Long Beach ourselves. In front of our apartment, there used to be a store. It was a gothic alternative store, and I called it Neverland. It seemed to be where all the lost children seemed to gather, and I was one of those lost children. And this is where I met my husband. Our story is a little bit funny of how we met, but I will have to tell you guys that later in another episode. While we were dating, I ended up moving into an apartment with an old high school friend of mine. Everything was going really great until the day we got into a huge fight and she decided to kill one of my snakes. And to stop me from completely destroying this crazy girl, I ended up moving back in with my father. I slept on the floor at my father's house, and soon my dad started dating a younger woman. She was extremely young. I was 18 and she was 25, and my dad was already in his 40s, and she definitely didn't like me. She didn't like me so much so that my dad sent me away to stay with my mom in Atlanta, Georgia, and that's where I had to leave my loving husband who was my boyfriend at the time. Being at my mom's house wasn't all that bad. Even though we were still fighting, we were working on our relationship. I ended up modeling and learning how to tattoo while I was out there, and one of my favorite things to do was to watch the light bugs go by at night. I ended up asking my friends to borrow some money so I could get a plane ticket to go back home. But when I got there, I saw that my dad had changed my room into his new girlfriend's, closet. I mean, wall to wall racks of clothes. And so I couldn't stay there. I ended up staying at a friend of the family's house, stayed in her daughter's room. They were equally having major problems at that house, and her daughter wrote all over the walls. It was very scary to stay there, and I stayed there for one night. My mom ended up buying a ticket for me, and I went all the way back to Atlanta the next day. I stayed with my mom for a few months, until the day my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, saved up enough money for me to get a plane ticket to fly back home to him. I arrived on his birthday. It was a great moment, and I will always remember it. His family was very accepting of our relationship, and they allowed me to move in. I got a job working as an elderly caregiver, but soon both me and my husband started tattooing. We started gardening, his family taught me Spanish, life was going really good. Till the neighborhood that we were living in started getting taken over by gangs and violence. We were hearing gunshots every night, and to make matters worse, our landlady started to raise our rent higher and higher. We had to get out of there, and this time we moved, but this time it was a happy move. We didn't have a lot of money, so we moved into an apartment that is helped by our government. It's a beautiful apartment, and I couldn't have been any happier, but I soon found myself struggling to go up the stairs. I thought my weakness had came from my childhood. When I was younger, I used to walk on my tiptoes, and my parents were told by the doctors to put me in cast to help me walk flat on my feet. I was in cast for 6 months, and it really did help me walk flat-footed, but I still struggled with my strength, and so I thought this was strange. When I went to the doctor, they ran a bunch of tests on me. They ended up doing a muscle biopsy. They took a piece of muscle from my left upper shoulder and my lower left leg. When it came up positive for muscular dystrophy, my world changed. I felt like everything was crashing down on me again, and I really fell into a deep depression. But my husband soon helped me pull me out of that deep depression with the light of his heart. He ended up proposing to me, and on June 3rd, we were married. But happiness doesn't last long with me, and soon after our marriage, my grandmother passed away. But with the love of my husband, he kept me strong, and I soon realized that I can't let things like this get to me. I felt so strong all of a sudden, and I got up out of bed, and I started to change my life. I felt so motivated with this newfound energy and happiness. I wanted to tell the world that life goes on after major problems and illnesses. So I soon started a YouTube channel where I have 3,400 amazing fans that watch my videos of how I do my makeup and talk about muscular dystrophy. And on my Instagram, I have 19,000 amazing and supportive people who write me such sweet messages each day and encourage me to keep living my life. And even though to this day I still have people judging me, whether if I'm dressed up dolly or if I'm not dressed up, I will never let those people get to me. I am me, and I am strong. I accept myself for who I am and for all the adventures that I went through. I have changed so much, and even my parents have changed. My dad went on to become a preacher. He wants to help other men who have gone through tough relationships and alcoholism like he has. My mom began teaching in another state, and I talk to her every week. And my sister, well, she went on to have 4 kids. I don't really talk to her often, but we do text on holidays. Well, that is my life so far, my loves. I take each day now with my muscular dystrophy in stride, and I will never let anything ever get to me ever again. I hope you guys had enjoyed this video. I'm so sorry it took me so long to finally complete it, but I am so happy I did, and it was great sharing my life with you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I really enjoyed this time with you guys. And please, if you like this video, don't be afraid to hit that like button. And subscribe for more videos about me, muscular dystrophy, makeup, cosplay, and everything else I could think of. I truly love you all so much. Thank you for your support. And please remember to always enjoy your life and the time you have with your loved ones. Life is so short. Don't waste it, you guys.